Everyone for taking the time today to join us. My name is Torsten Burns. I am the AVEVA channel sales manager for WIN-911, and we really appreciate you being here today. So today we're going to go over the WIN-911 2021 product update, including some core product changes, as well as some information on the WIN-911 2021 R2 release. We will then go into our WIN-911 mobile smartphone app and some features on that. We will, in the last part of my presentation, we will go over how to upgrade to our most recent WIN-911 2021 system, and then we will wrap it up with our systems integrator engagement manager, Chris Cave. He'll do a live demo for us, which will be great. So we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing is, what you'll notice right off the bat, is that we moved away from our Silverlight UI and replaced that with a desktop application. So Internet Explorer is no longer required to run the WIN-911, the newer WIN-911 app. And the desktop app can be used over the network, which allows you to have networkability across your configuration. All of our web services have gone away and is now being hosted by the desktop app within our WIN-911 services. We're no longer using the IIS, which is the Internet Information Services. And this really did two big things, which is it simplified the installation procedures and it drastically reduces our resource usage. Furthermore, into our contacts directory. So this is a more consolidated workspace, which allows you to add multiple connection types, and every notification method gets built under the contact name. This is different from Core 3 and Core 4, where each notifier had its own contact list, and so now this is connected into one. You can add new users very quickly, and as you can see here, so you can click one user and add their email, add their mobile gateway, add a SMS, or add the voice for that specific user instead of having to do that each time. And it's a quick, and then this also allows a quick, easy way to adjust schedules from the workspace, which it just increases flexibility. Next is our format editor. So XSL is still available, which is what we used to use and was commonly used on the Core 3 and 4. But this is a much more simplified editor for the notification formats. This allows you to type in static text, which you can then select from variable and alarm properties from a list, and then you can drag them in. And so as you can see on the right, where it says simple format, these have the native alarm properties, and this has the naming conventions used on different SCADA platforms, whether it's system platform, edge, or the InTouch HMI. So a great example of this is on system platform. You will see that an alarm might be referred to as an object or an attribute. So you'll see an object attribute in this, and then in InTouch, the alarm might be tagged. So they are specific to what SCADA you are using. Which is great. So it's all the terminology that you'd be used to. And this is a really big improvement, which we believe made the formatting much easier for you all and for customers. Next is the alarm subscription control. So WIN-911 subscribes directly to your SCADA alarm database, and this does not require you to import a separate set of tags, which now eliminates the need to maintain two separate databases. You can subscribe in and use a set of filters to let the software know what alarms it needs to monitor. And these subscriptions are supported for InTouch HMI, system platform, and edge. You can filter the native alarm properties defined in the SCADA and HMI. And as you can see, it's highlighted in blue. That's the and or feature, which is the Boolean logic. And this allows for a much more flexible and customizable filtering when you're determining what alarms are going to come in and then how they need to be grouped. So this is the backup and restore utility. This was released with the WIN-911 2021 R2 system, and it allows users to back up your entire configuration into a single zip file. And a big thing that happened here was it cut the backup restore time anywhere from the 10 to 20 minute range to under 60 seconds. So it just allows you to restore a backup to the original system or relocate this new system. So what you can do is you can pick the backup folder that you need to back up your configuration into, and then the SQL database that you want to save in. This will back everything up and then save it into one file, make it easier for you to access and to reinstate if needed. And this can be executed via the command line, which is combined with our task scheduler to automate backups. And the beauty of this is it allows you to back it up on your own schedule. So if you want to set it up where you want it to back up every day at midnight or every day at noon or weekly or monthly, it can. We highly recommend that you back it up as frequently as possible, which will help you prevent data loss. And then, there's more instructions available to you on our website through our knowledge base. So we're going to go through what we support in terms of the SCADA or operating system. For AVEVA, InTouch, HMI, and AVEVA system platform, we work directly with 2014 R2 Service Pack 1 Patch 2, and then we work with 2017 Update 3, 2020, and 2020 R2. And then with AVEVA Edge, we can work with 2020 and 2020 R2. We also work with OPC DA, so we have access to the OPC Data Access Classic 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. In terms of Windows operating systems, for Windows Server, we are functional with 2016, 2019, and 2022. And with Windows Desktop, we can do Windows 10, which breaks down into 1809 LTSC, 2004, 20H2, and 21H1. And Windows 11. We're going to move into our mobile app. So with our mobile app, we've had a few recent releases. No major updates on the application yet, but we are looking at a new release coming up in 2022, hopefully more in the beginning of the year, which will really allow you to have some really cool features moving forward. We support on Android and the iOS devices, which is available through for a free app. This allows for alarming and reporting via push notifications, and it connects to an alarm server, which allows them to be pushed and acknowledged. It allows for dynamic alarms and report summary screens. And a really great thing is it's an internet-based solution, so there is no hardware required. We utilize Microsoft Azure Cloud Services, and we utilize Microsoft Active Directory for security reasons. For the app, so you'll see 3 photos here. The first one is you can easily acknowledge alarms with a single touch. So when an alarm comes up, if you click acknowledge, it'll also open up a comment box, so you can comment in there if needed. You can do in-app format control. This is really awesome because if there's 4 people that are supposed to get the alarm, you can each individually decide what type of information you want on that alarm, which is great for teams. You can chat with other team members. This is a really nice feature. It effectively is a group message that allows you to communicate with the team members who receive that alarm. So you can chat about it, see who's doing it, and if someone wants to go out and check out what's going on, they can say so, and that it's being taken care of. You can track alarm delivery to see who has received it and who has seen the alarm, which is on the far right photo. So as you can see, there's 3 people listed here. 1 person has seen it. As you can tell, there's an eye with no line through it on the right side. If the eye has a line through it, it means they have not seen it yet. And then you can suspend notifications with the do not disturb mode. So if they are in do not disturb, or they're not supposed to be seeing the alarm because they're off schedule, maybe they're not on a call today, or maybe they're on vacation, on the left side of the individual's name, it'll have a bell with a line through it, so that they are not supposed to see that. In terms of this, there are some really great videos on our website about this under our mobile page, which help you better understand the mobile platform, but then you can also better understand the security architecture through these videos and information. And the mobile process is available with our interactive and advanced licenses, and also through our free 30-day trial. Next is how to upgrade. So this is a big one. So the first thing is if we would have to confirm that you have an active customer care subscription, also known as a CCS. If it's active, then you're eligible for a free upgrade. And if it's expired, then we will need to renew the customer care subscription, or the customer would need to purchase an upgrade. For customers out there running Core 3 or Core 4, or even a older legacy, which would be V7 Basic or Pro, this is great because it helps you get updated to our most recent software. And if you need to renew the customer care subscription or purchase an upgrade, one of our sales members will help you find the best cost-effective way to get there to make sure you're all set and ready to go. And we're going to go through some steps here of how to do that. The first thing is you're going to want to go to our website. And at the top, there's a tab with products on it. You'll want to hover over that, and then you'll want to go down to the download WIN-911 2021 R2, which is in white at the bottom. You want to fill out this download form that comes up, which will request the following information: name, email, phone, your company, your SCADA system, and your location. And then from there, it will be a download, green download button. This will also give you access or immediate access to the release notes and our system requirements to make sure that what you're doing will work with your current system. Step 3 is now to install WIN-911 2021. If you're running version 3.19.5 or newer, this will upgrade seamlessly. And if you're running a V7, whether it's basic or pro, you can migrate using our import utility. There's a lot of documentation on the website of how this works, but long story short, this brings your legacy configuration into the 2021 product. And then last but not least, you will need to request a new license. We opened up a new license schema for the 2021 product, so it does require that everyone upgrading needs to request a new license. And here are the steps. So what you'll do is you'll go through the website, and you'll go hover over the support tab, go down to license activation, and then you'll click the WIN-911 2021 upgrade license request. This will direct you to fill in what software, what version of WIN-911 you are currently using. You'll want to fill that out, and it will direct you on the next steps. And from there, you should be up and running. And if you're having any trouble, please reach out. Our sales and support staff is great, and we're so happy to help you and assist you the best way we can to make this work. And we highly recommend that people upgrade. It's a really great system. So that wraps it up on my end. Thank you all so much, and we are going to move into a live demo with Chris Cave. So Chris, on to you.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to do a quick sound check, make sure you can hear me okay if you don't mind. And then also I started sharing my screen and wanted to make sure you could see the screen. In GoToMeeting, you can pop out the questions box and you can submit your question there to let me know. Also, I don't mind answering questions on the fly, so if you need clarification on anything, just let me know. So just again, wanted to double check that you can hear me. If someone doesn't mind just popping that into the questions box, make sure you can hear me okay and see my screen. Okay, haven't got an update yet. Hopefully you all can hear me and see the screen. So we're going to start with a quick alarm test just to show you how WIN-911 brings in the alarms. So if we trigger any alarm, we use our WIN-911 log viewer to make sure that alarm is coming in. And here we can see the details of what's going on, what notification policy it's triggering, and what label is assigned to that alarm. We have a couple other options here in Log Viewer. You can go to Notifications tab and see like a quick summary, the alarm being tripped, who's being notified. And then we also have historical data. We can uncheck this auto update box, set our date range here, and be able to refresh and see historical data. We can also export that historical data with our export feature here, and we can move it to an Excel file or a PDF if you like. My favorite tab is the Alarms tab, because this one lets me double click inside the alarm somewhere to drill down into it and let me see the details of any notifications sent out, Looks like we had a failure. That's because I don't actually have a person named Robert Smith with an SMS phone, so that's why. And then we can see if anyone's acknowledged it. We can see the notification policy taking place and what the workflow is looking like. And then last but not least is our state change option. So yeah, this is my favorite here. We can see who acknowledged it. So if I go ahead and open up my mobile app here and acknowledge that alarm, we'll see it go back to the SCADA. We'll also be able to see in Log Viewer that it was me on my mobile that acknowledged it. The second one is letting us know that InTouch successfully received our acknowledgement and updated us properly. So this is a good troubleshooting step. If you're ever acknowledging from WIN-911, whether Log Viewer or mobile or something else, we always want to see two in here. The first one being that WIN-911 sent the acknowledgement, and the second one saying that our SCADA accepted our acknowledgement and we're good to go. So that way we see it update them both. And when this alarm actually meets terminal state, it will clear from WIN-911 and also clear from your SCADA. All right, so let's get into the workspace. A couple of things I'd like to point out. First is that we can hide our toolbox here, just show icons if you like, so you can consolidate and get more real estate if you need a bigger screen. And then also we have a light and dark mode for the UI, which I find very fancy. And I think the dark mode's easy on the eyes, but light mode's probably better for presentation. So I'm gonna keep in light mode for today. Now, a configuration order, you can really start configuring anywhere you want, but I would say it's still probably best practice to go with your contacts first, create your users, get your users ready, set their schedule, whether or not they can acknowledge, what connections they'll be using. Assign their schedules here. You can create new schedules if you like, create new alarm formats if you like, and then create roles, which is a way of grouping people together. Now, roles is not necessary for the system to function, but it can be utilized with the advanced tactic and the advanced workflow. Make it very easy to assign people to on-call or take them out of on-call, and you can use Operator Workspace to do that. Once we have our users ready, then we can move on to our notification policies. This is going to be our call groups, who gets called in what order. And so this is just a simple call group starting from the top. If I was actually going to say all contacts, I could just say call everyone in no particular order, anyone in the directory. But if we want to call people in a certain order, then we need to use selected contacts, come down to our add connection, and start adding people that we want. We can move the list around if we want using these icons here, or we can use the checkbox and use our arrows. Now keep in mind, the checkbox is really just for editing purposes. It's not required, like once a person's in the list, they're in the list. You don't need to select the box for it to make sure that they get notified. Again, this just is for editing purposes, so you can delete someone out if you want. And then we have our retries upon failure. This will set up something where, like, let's say it calls someone on the phone and they mess up their authorization code or it hangs up. If we set up a retry, it'll try calling them back, giving another shot at answering the call, putting in their authorization code and acknowledging that alarm. The delay between retries is how long you want to wait before it tries again. I would say this is necessary for voice, maybe not so much with email, mobile, and SMS, but for voice, we probably want to give them time, or the phone at least time, to disconnect and reconnect. And then we have the delay after successful. So this means if it did notify me successfully, how long do we want to wait before we start contacting the next person? And we can do this if we want to make sure maybe on call gets it first, set up like 10 minutes, give that person a chance to answer the phone or acknowledge the alarm. And if not, wait 10 minutes and then it will move on to the next person. And then one of my favorite features about the new 2021 R2 is that we can now pick and choose what notifications we actually want to see. And this is pretty common, or it was a pretty common question in the past where people have mixed voice with SMS and email, and they want voice calls to go out and get acknowledged, but not call anyone else back when it does, but they might still want that email, that re-notification for the email, or they might just want certain notifications for the email. And it was kind of an all or nothing before, where you had to put on re-notify on state change to see any of those follow-ups, and you had to see every single state change at that point. Whereas now, we can just see the things we want. And probably the most common use case I see is that they want to see the initial event when the alarm goes active, and then they want to see when the alarm goes terminal, when it actually clears. And keep in mind, WIN-911's basic call list will keep processing this until the alarm goes terminal. And a terminal alarm is when it's been acknowledged and returned to normal. We still have the option for update previously notified, and we have a couple other options. You can restart the entire call list or just do nothing. And then we still have the option to automatically return to normal. Automatically acknowledge the alarm if it does return to normal. And then we still have voice override options. So you can still say do not call back when it's inactive, or if you want them to be able to call back, then you can just uncheck those boxes there. Now that we have our notification policies created, it's time to go into creating alarms. And this is where I think it's a good idea to already have this in place, because when you go to import alarms, you can tell it to import all the alarms to a certain notification policy. Otherwise, it's going to use the default, which is the notify all, and that is notify everyone in no particular order. Now, if we do go to import, we need a DB dump file from the InTouch application manager. This will create a CSV file, and then we take that file, we say that we understand, we select our file, and it will give us a list of all the alarms available. And right now I'm just going to pick one, bring it over using the single arrow. If I choose the double arrow, it's going to bring everything over. I can also assign a label to it at this point. A label is a way of grouping alarms together, just like roles is a way of grouping people together. And with labels, it's not required for the system to function. However, it's great for organizational purposes, and then also can be utilized with the advanced workflow. All right, so if we go ahead and pull in my single alarm, click next, and this is where we get to choose our notification policy. So I always think it's a good idea to have this in place already. So I can just say I want this one to go straight to that notification policy. And that way, if you're importing like 1,000 alarms and you all want them to go to one policy, it can do that for you in one quick swoop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just cancel out of this for now, but hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of how easy it can be to import everything and assign everything to a single call out list. Or you could do multiples if you'd like. Okay, so here I have two ways of bringing in alarms with InTouch. First one is subscriptions. This is where we can create filters to bring in different pieces of the alarms if we want. Assign it to a notification policy and make sure that goes out. Give it a label if you like. And then there's also the option to import. And when we import alarms, we can change the descriptions of things if we want. We can override the InTouch comment and have our own description if you like. And then, of course, you set it to a notification policy. In this case, it is right here. And so we can change that if we like. And then also, we can add a tag manually if we like right here. So you can always just add a tag and do it that way if you like. All right, and so the way this really works is that WIN-911, when an alarm trips, it will always check the imported tags first. And if it matches and has a notification policy assigned, then it will always use that notification policy. If it doesn't match anything in here, then we move up and check the subscription. And in this case, I'm using a wildcard for all, so this would catch everything. Now you can have multiple subscriptions if you like, but you definitely don't want your catch-all at the top. You'd want that underneath or at the bottom, because this is a ranking order, similar to how a waterfall effect works. If it's checking subscriptions, it's going to check rank 1 first. If it matches that filter, it will use that policy every time. If it doesn't match anything in there, then it moves on to rank 2, and this is my catch-all right now, so this would catch everything and go out to that notification policy. Okay. And then now that we have our alarms ready to go, this is how it all comes together. When we trip an alarm, it comes into Log Viewer, and Log Viewer is going to trip that notification policy, and then that is where it formulates the dispatcher to get everything ready to send out to whatever contacts you had available there. Okay, we're just going to acknowledge that real quick. Now I'd like to show you a bit more about the advanced workflow and the advanced notification policies. So if we go back to our workspace, go back to our notification policy, we have our advanced button at the top. And this does require the advanced license. This is what includes the 25 mobile licenses. and gives you access to the advanced workflow along with push reports. And a push report is basically a way of automating a tag. You could tell the tag to trip at the same time every day. That alarm would basically trigger a notification policy, and that notification policy is basically just saying push out this report to someone. So it's not necessarily a alarm notification in this case. Instead, you're using an alarm to trip a report to be able to push it out every day automatically. All right, so if we go to our advanced here, and let's just take one here I already have created. I think this is a pretty solid one. First thing we have to keep in mind is that this is real similar to strategies and tactics. We basically combined them together into one page for you. And you're going to always need a initial event when the alarm first received, and then you're always going to need a stop policy. And this is, in this case, when the alarm becomes acknowledged. So this is similar to how we used to do it in version 4, where if the alarm was to be acknowledged, it would just stop the policy right away and not notify anyone else. So this is really good for if you are only using voice, I suppose, or a mixture of voice and mobile would be a good one. Because with mobile, we no longer care, it's all hard-coded. We show every single alarm state change on the mobile app now, so that's great. Now, policies and actions in between is everything we can add. We can have all kinds of things in here if we want. We can have notify on any state change. We can have when the alarm becomes inactive to automatically acknowledge it. And then we can always add another rule if we like. And perhaps other rules that might become available or that might be useful rather is upon repeating timer and setting that timer. So you have some sort of escalation involved where if no one's acknowledged the alarm after 30 minutes, set a timer to re-notify them again in 30 minutes or so. Now, when the alarm first is received, we have the option to start either a call list or a workflow. So if we go ahead and edit that, we can use our hamburger here to select other notification policies we already had in place, or we can create a new one. With the new one, we would use the plus sign, or we can edit the current one I'm already using. So let's actually just edit the one I'm already using and take a look at that real quick. And this is a workflow where roles and labels are being utilized. So earlier you could see where I had the tags imported and they had labels assigned to them. And so if that alarm were to trip, instead it would check this. If this label matches, then it would go to on-call and go to operators. If it doesn't match this label, it would check the next label. Could still go to on-call or someone else if you like. And then in this case, it's going to go to a different group of people. And this is where we can utilize either the operator workspace or even the WIN-911 workspace to change people's roles on the fly very quickly. Okay. We have a lot of other great options, and the good thing here too is you can always hover over one of the actions or decisions to let you know exactly what it's going to do. And just a real quick push or description here. Notify is for a single person. Notify is for a group of roles of people, a group of people. And we can do a push report or a push report to all. We have delay options and a automatically acknowledge if you like. And this decision is checking whether the alarm's already acknowledged. So if we look at that, that's really the first check it's doing. If it's acknowledged, then it's just going to end the process right off the bat and be done with it. But if it's not, then it will move on and check the labels and then assign the call to whatever roles are there. All right. So let's go ahead and get out of workflow. And I just want to take a moment here to see if anyone has any questions about the advanced notifications or things of that nature. You're welcome again to use the question box in GoToMeeting. There should be a way to pop it out if you like, and you can just submit a question there if you like. Send it and we'll answer. So one of the other features with the advanced license is the push report. And so in this case, let's go back to my HMI here. And this isn't necessarily like a real alarm. It's just basically a trigger that's triggering it. So if we were to trigger that, it would still come in the WIN-911 like an alarm, but instead of sending out a notification going to your call list, it goes to my push report notification policy. And in the end, and I know this is probably not the best looking push report, but basically you get something like this if you're doing it to email, and it basically shows you the values of those tags, whether or not, if they're an alarm or not. And so if you're automating it, it's very good for doing like gas levels or water levels, and you can automate it to push this report out every hour and push it to your mobile device. And so you get to see those levels every hour if you're trying to monitor that and make sure everything's okay. Now let's follow what actually happened here. So it looks like an alarm comes in, but we're going to push report. So if we go to Workspace, go to let me cancel out of this. And if we go to my push report, it's basically just triggering this workflow. And this is where I basically told it, go to this push report. And this is a single push report here where it's going to my email. And this is an example where it's doing a push report to all based on the role. So anyone with the manager role would be able to see that report. And it still kind of follows the same practice here where we want to automatically acknowledge that if it returns to normal possibly, and then end it when the policy stops. Because typically what happens is these just basically turn on, turn off real quickly. And the whole purpose of it is just to send that push report out. Okay. And so with reporting, one thing to note about reporting is that this does require that the alarms that you want to report on, or the tags rather, be imported into WIN-911. And so this is where it can get a little bit tricky depending on which SCADA, because system platform does not have the option to import alarms. We have to use subscription-based only. And so with that option, if we have an OPC option where you could create an OPC server, put just the tags you want reporting on into OPC, import those OPC tags into WIN-911, and then we can create our report based on that. With InTouch, it's a little easier because you can always import tags from InTouch into WIN-911. And the same with AVEVA Edge, that one's subscription-based and import options, so you could always use reporting with that as well. But just to recap, with system platform, you would have to have an OPC server in order to do reporting. Or you could still use your InTouch if you like. Okay. And with reporting, the way we do it is you basically start it. It has to have a unique number, 1, 2, 3, 4. And right now I have 1 and 2 already, so I could make my third one. And then when I go to add, it's going to give me a list of basically everything I have imported into WIN-911. So this is where we need to have those alarm or tags imported. Okay. Now last but not least is the gateways, and these are your notifiers. This is what we use. You could kind of think of it like hardware, because with the wireless, you would need some sort of wireless modem if you wanted SMS texting. With the phone, if you want voice calls, then you would need some sort of modem, and in this case, it would be the Grand Stream device, or you could have it connect to your own Cisco or VoIP system if you'd like. And then with mobile, we provide you with this account. It's typically your serial number at WIN-911. And this account that we give you is only for the mobile gateway here in the workspace. You do not use this account to log into your mobile phone. Instead, you use your own email address and whatever password you have assigned for your Microsoft account. There is the mobile hub option because mobile gateway does require internet, but let's say you do not have internet access on your machine where the server or WIN-911's installed. So you could enable this mobile hub option, and you would have to take the mobile executable, the mobile install from our installation files, copy it to the machine that you want to have the mobile gateway on, right here. So you would copy and paste that to the machine where you do have internet access, somewhere maybe in your DMZ, install that, and it'll have its own computer name, its own service. And so we enable Mobile Hub here, put in that IP or that computer name, and we basically use Mobile Hub as a proxy. And so the gateway itself may not have internet access, but your local network, it will connect to your local network machine that does have internet access where the Mobile Hub's installed, and then use that as your mobile gateway. Okay. So I just kind of want to go through the notifiers just one more time, a quick recap. We have email. So email is, you would have to come up with an email account and have either your own mail server, or you could use Gmail. Gmail is probably the most common since it's free, and we just use Gmail's SMTP server. But you may have an on-premise email server, Exchange or something like that, and you could always use that information there. But again, you'd have to create your own email address, your own password, and then it would be up to the customer's IT to provide us with the host name and the port and what it takes to connect to their mail server. And then with Mobile Gateway, again, we provide you with this username and password, and you use the online gateway management here to update your password. And then Sierra Wireless is probably the most common SMS modem. I definitely recommend it over the Multitech. So this sits somewhere on your network, and we just talk to it to your local network. And then, of course, with the voice, we use the GrandStream, most common. GrandStream is a way of converting a VoIP SIP into an analog. So if your customer still has an analog POTS line, they don't require a tapping modem anymore. You could just use GrandStream, and actually I think GrandStream is 100 times better than tapping modems. Tapping modems seem to break a lot with Windows updates, and I enjoy GrandStream over tapping so much more. All right. So that is the workspace in a nutshell. I can go back to the schedules real quick. One thing I'd like to point out with schedules is that when you're creating a schedule, you want to make sure you get your start and end time correct for the shift itself. It's not for like the week, because your week will be planned out later through edit occurrence. And so in this case, I maybe want to 8 to 5. I want to make sure that it's 8 in the morning and the same date, 5 o'clock here. And then I can go into my edit reoccurrence and actually pick those days that I want. Maybe it's Monday through Friday. Maybe they're off on Wednesdays and have to work Saturday. So I could do something like that, hit OK. And once that's set, it actually builds the schedule for me for each day with the proper shift time. A common question I get asked is rotating shifts. And you could create one long schedule with the rotating shift inside if you like. It'd be tedious, and it's real open to change. I mean, they might call in sick some days or something like that. So typically what I recommend is creating all your shifts and schedules. And so you have your 3 to 11, 7 to 3, and then possibly your the other one that might be available would be 3 to 11, 7 to 3, and then what was the last one? Actually, I guess that would pretty much cover everything. But yes, this is where I'd create multiple schedules basically. And then I would use Operator Workspace to quickly change either their role or their schedule on the fly. So if we go back to our HMI, there is a way to embed a button to open the Operator Workspace. And Operator Workspace is just a place where you can quickly change either the callout list or the schedules or something like that. It doesn't give them access to the full-blown workspace to where they can change everything. This will just let them really just change the callout list. So let's go ahead and launch that. All right. So Operator Workspace notification policies, this is only going to look at the basic policies, not the advanced. With the advanced, we're going to use the roles to manipulate who gets called for the advanced workflow. So earlier I was showing you where we're grouping people together via roles, and let's say I'm not going to be on call, I could just quickly remove myself from on call and add Robert to on call real quickly if I like. And so this is a way of just changing it on the fly, closing it out, and you're done. And you just basically changed who's going to be on call for the week or for the day. Notice we have the little star up here. That means we have unsaved changes. So we would have to come down to here and save our changes. And then I wanted to go back to notification policies real quick. So again, this is just checking basic notifications. And I can add people if I like, remove people if I like, set the upon failure and the retry between, and what to do after successful notification. Also, we have the details bracket here, so we can set a repeat for the list or delay before call out if we'd like. Okay. All right, so we're getting close, I suppose, to our time for questions again, but before we do that, let's take a quick look at the backup utility. And so this does have to be installed separately. It doesn't get installed with the normal install wizard, and it is available in our tools folder in the original installation files. We would install that, and it would add a shortcut menu to our start menu here. So if we go ahead and launch that, where'd you go? There we go. It's just a really simple UI. It's just two buttons really. Do you want to back up or restore? If we hit the backup here, we can pick, where we want to save it. And then if we're connecting to multiple SQL instances, you can set a different SQL instance here if you like. Once we start it, you can see it's super quick, zips it up in no time at all. And then it tells us where it is located here in the zip file. So if I go to my documents folder, these are all the backups I've made. Here's today's. Double click, and here we can see all the SQL backups available. And then to restore is just as simple. I don't actually want to do that right now, but if I just hit restore, it's going to ask me what zip file I want, because you could have multiples and maybe you need to go back a little further. And then what SQL instance you want to restore to, hit it, and everything gets restored. Okay. Now I mentioned Operator Workspace. It's also available in the Start menu, and you could always pin something down in the Start menus. Don't necessarily have to launch it from your HMI, but this does get installed with the normal install, and so you could always launch it here or through your HMI. Okay. One other tool I'd like to show you, because in the past it was a common issue where WIN-911 has to run as a service account or a Windows user account, and all those Windows services for WIN-911 run as that account. And in the past, if you tried to change that password or tried to change that user, it broke everything. And so we created this tool here called the security configuration. And this tool will let you change the password for your account. So right now, all my WIN-911 services are running as this account, WIN-911. And let's say I changed that password and it broke everything. I could run this tool, put the updated password here, click apply, and that would update the password for my service account through all the services. You could also use this to change the account that you run the services with. So let me just open up Windows Services real quick, go to the WIN-911 section, and here you can see all my WIN-911 runtimes running as this account. And perhaps I want to change that account completely. The first step you would need to do is add that user to SQL, to the WIN-911 SQL database instance as a sysadmin, or you could use DB Creator. It just needs read-write access. Once you have it in SQL, then you can come into the security configuration, browse for that user, set the password, hit apply, and it will update all these services with the new user. We also have secure WIN-911 network. This is really just about these services talking to each other and whether it's secure communication between them. I don't know if it's really necessary on a local machine, but you might want to turn it on for distributed systems if you're concerned about security. Because with distributed systems, you could have different services running on different machines across your network. And with the secure network on, it would be able to talk to those services on different machines with encryption on. Let's take a look at the other options in the Start menu folder. So with the new release, we do have the V7 importer. This is great if you're upgrading from V7, our legacy product. And with V7, it's really just two files. You have your main configuration.mdb file, and then you have your WIN-911 INI file, which is more of the notifier configuration. And when you go to run V7 importer, it will basically prompt you for those two files. And so you could always move those files from one machine to this machine or wherever you install the new product, or if you're installing it on the same machine, this should automatically just find it for you. And then once we find those files, hit next, and that'll import all your existing data from V7 into the workspace for you. Okay. And then we have Announcer. Announcer is a way of enunciating alarms through the PC speaker. When it runs, it will run down here at the system tray, and we can tell it whether or not to start with Windows under the connectivity tab, start with Windows if we like. Here we can test the connection to make sure it's going to work. It's basically utilizing your sound card. So you would need some sort of sound card, a PC speaker or a PA system connected to that sound card. And let's just go through the tabs real quick. So with connectivity, this is basically what the announcer connecting to the machine or to WIN-911. And it can be on a remote computer on your local network or on the same computer as the server. The say as is a way of using acronyms, and instead of saying the letter, it will actually say what it means for you. So here's some examples. If it's CFN, it'll say change from normal instead of saying CFN. If it sees ALM, it'll actually say alarm instead of saying ALM. You can always add more if you like, and you can export or import that list if you like, if you're trying to move it across different plants or something. And then alarm format is how you want to hear the alarm. And so we have the insert properties. This is real similar to how we do our new alarm formatting, our alarms, and here, how you want to see the alarm or how do you want to hear the alarm. In this case, it would be how you want to hear it over the announcer. And you could bring in different alarm details if you'd like. And then our audio, this is going to be what audio device we're connecting to. Again, this is going to be on the local machine, whatever sound card you have set for that. And then subscriptions. And so right now the default is just basically any subscription policy, let's do it. I'm sorry, every notification policy, let's enunciate the alarm. However, if you have multiple subscriptions or multiple policies and you only want to hear it for certain policies, you can do that. And then we also have the option to repeat if you like, or just set it to 0 if you don't want any repeat at all. You can add multiples as well, because maybe you have a prefix. Maybe this is the all alarm prefix, and we could say we want to do the policy for that one, and then maybe this one's for the critical alarms, and we could set it for that policy and say, have it say critical for us before starting. And then you can also pick and choose which things you actually want to hear. Maybe you just want to hear that the alarm is active unacknowledged, and you don't care about the follow-ups. And if you do want to hear everything, that's more than fine as well. It's similar to Operator Workspace, where if you have changes that you've made, you're going to see the little star up here to let you know that you have unsaved changes, and so we'll need to go save those changes or cancel them. Okay. So that is announcer, and some can even consider that like a fifth notification. So we have SMS, we have voice, we have email, we have mobile, and then you can possibly see announcer as a fifth one if you're doing over a PA system or throughout the entire plant. Okay. Now, module mapper, I just want to point out this one real quick. A lot of times this is only really necessary if you're trying to add or remove modules. Perhaps you want to uninstall the SMS module because you don't plan on using it. You would go to Control Panel, uninstall just that module, and then run module mapper afterwards to make sure everything's up and ready to go. And then a quick bit about troubleshooting. So I mentioned that we are services. We run as services, runtime, all time, anytime. And all of our services are dependent on the code meter runtime. Code meters being how we do our licensing. And so if we want to restart all WIN-911 services at the same time, we could come to the code meter runtime here, restart. You don't want to use stop and start. You definitely want to use restart. We'll get prompted to restart all WIN-911 services, and we can restart them all really quickly at the same time. Okay, well, we're getting close to our endpoint here. Again, I just want to see if anyone has any questions, any concerns, any feedback, anything that we can improve on. You're more than welcome to use the question box in the GoToMeeting. You can always pop it out, type something, hit send to all, and we'll see that and answer accordingly. And while we're waiting on that, just real quick, I'd like to show you something else here about troubleshooting. So this is Windows Event Viewer. Every Windows system has it since the dawn of Windows, I believe. Actually, I'm not sure about that, but definitely with Windows 95. And if we expand the application and services logs here, we have our own log section. And in here, we're going to see logs from all of our services, all of our sources. So this is the voice runtime. We have the SMS runtime. We have mobile runtime. And so if we're troubleshooting something, we could just focus on, I have a SMS issue that I'm focusing on. So I could just look at my SMS issues. Now keep in mind, I don't actually have an SMS modem, so it's going to constantly fail on me. And this is a way of letting me know that my modem is not working. All right. Well, no questions today. That's quite all right. We're just really happy that you were able to attend our session. We hope that you can make it to more sessions. We have monthly webinars constantly coming on, and hey, thank you. I appreciate that, Mark. Much appreciated. Glad you liked it. Definitely check out our website under the documentation resources tab webinar, and you'll see all our upcoming webinars. And actually, let me just show you that real quick if you don't mind. So here is our website, our main page, and if I go to our resources here, we can go to our webinars and see all our upcoming webinars. They're always free, and we're always doing monthly training as well. It's free to join anytime you like. All right, well, that is the end of our session. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it.